Assalamu Alaikum everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So what I want to do today is just talk about generally what's happening in the market just this week. There are a few things that we're expecting this week. So we're expecting the Fed decision this week. We're expecting the CPI. Of course, we're going to talk about the CPI jobs that was reported last week. There's a lot of things in terms of US and UK and France elections and so on. We also have I'm going to give you a quick portfolio update at the same time. And there are three different companies that are in the tech sector that two of them have basically are reporting this week and one has also already reported last week. So I'm just going to look at some of those things and share with you guys with my thoughts somewhere, basically what I think about, especially with the companies that are reporting. But as usual, before we do that, it would be really helpful if you can join us at the Patreon account where you get access to all my buys and sells. You can share, your ideas and so on with other brothers and sisters that are on the platform as well, on the Discord platform. And at the same time, you get access to all the dividend trackers, whether it's the ETF trackers, whether it's the dividend trackers, the calendars and so on, and the Sharia compliant investing ebook, which I feel like it would be helpful if you are new to investing and so on. And that will cost you about 15p per day. And of course, if you are basically enjoying it, stay with us. If you're not, then of course, after 1 month, you can basically stop subscribing to it. Anyway, let's get started the video. So again, as always, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Of course, if you have any questions, let me know, inshallah. And the first thing I want to talk about today is basically generally to give you an idea of what's happening in today's market. And as you can see, the markets have opened I think about 2 hours ago. So as you can see, Nvidia is still taking a lead every single day. It looks like it's kind of going up, but right now, because the split has taken effect now, is $122 per share. Now please don't feel like this is now cheaper all of a sudden, okay? And I'm not actually advocating for you guys to invest in Nvidia, especially because of what's happened with Palestine and the fact that they recently donated, I think it was $2 billion or whatever it was, to the basically Zionist government, and I wasn't happy with that. And at the time, I actually did own the Nvidia in my family portfolio, and I sold it, and I've shared that with the community members on the Discord. Now, in terms of the price wise, it doesn't mean now it's all of a sudden becoming cheap. It is cheaper in terms of like when you look at the price. Now you can buy basically one share and feel like, oh yeah, I bought one share, but that doesn't mean anything. It's like basically buying one piece and just basically sliding a bit, taking a bit of whatever. So you're really still buying a slice of the business company. You're not buying really a whole share, if you like, if you know what I mean. So anyway, that does not change anything, so don't feel it that way. So Broadcom, for some reason, it's actually gone up quite a bit. We'll talk about the company at the end of towards the end of the video. And overall, the sector, I think I feel like it's doing really well basically this week, or just today, is the energy sector. This has been one of the lagging sectors in the last few months. So hopefully we'll see a bounce back, because I do own Exxon. That's the only one that I own in my portfolio and so on. So overall, that's generally what's happening in the market. But when you look at it basically for the last week performance, you can see there's a few basically green ones, and they mainly are again the same companies, the Nvidias, the basically Broadcom and so on. Broadcom was up 9% over the basically just last week. And when you look at the last 3 months, there are more greens, but now there are also big reds, and those are some of the companies I'm gonna have a basically talk about today. And we've talked about some of those companies in the last few weeks as well. Let me know if you're interested in specific companies. When you look at the last 6 months, then you realize, okay, how much we've come up in the last 6 months. And again, that's why I genuinely feel like we are due for correction. Correction meaning basically 10 to 20% downside kind of basically when it comes to general markets. And I hope it happens. I promise you, I will not be crying if that happens, okay? Because that will give us an opportunity, inshallah, to buy high quality businesses at discounted prices. But look at this one here, it's up 56%. I'm not complaining, but that's like, I really like the company. Broadcom, again, I took some profit off the table. Again, it's basically up 57% and so on. And just mainly these companies here, and of course some of the communication services like the Metas and Googles and Amazons and whatever. But when you look at the energy sector, for example, it hasn't done as much. But basically when it comes to real estate, has not done well at all because of the interest rates and so on, which is basically what we're going to talk about next. So the CPI report basically came out last week, and because it was better than expected, if you like, basically nothing huge, to be honest, to report when it comes to CPI. So the CPI report for May is expected basically to show cooling based in and headline with 0.1 increase month over month basically, and when it comes to year over year it's about 3.4. Now what this means for us is the fact that most likely, and this is where basically we're going to talk about the Fed side of things, because of basically how it's the fact that it's actually shown basically cooling on the basically headline side of things. Again, you can break it down. There are a few other things. You need to look at the wage sector basically side of things, wage growth and so on, and that's basically employment was basically reported last week and it was better than expected. Basically employment went up, the salaries went up and so on. That's for the month of May. But when we look at the overall markets, okay, and this is the important part for me, is this part here where it basically says the market is backs off on hopes for interest rate cut following basically strong jobs report. So because we had this basically strong jobs report, there's no basically most likely, and a lot of the analysts are saying the Fed is going to come out this week and they're just going to hold it. Basically, they've been doing that for I think they've done it. This is the third time they're doing it now. And for that reason, interest rates is going to stay exactly where it is, and they're expecting maybe a cut in maybe not even in July. So they might come out and say towards the end of the summer, the end of the year, sorry, we will start cutting again. And this is the jobs report that basically was reported. So 272,000 was basically what was reported. They were expecting about 190,000. So it's basically better than what was expected. And for that reason, they probably will come out and say, okay, do you know what? We're just going to hold it for now, basically. But the other thing is also we need to think about is they will have to start cutting at some point, because remember their target is 2%. So we'll see what happens. But all of these things to me is just a noise. And there's a lot of that happening around. Okay. And as always, that might affect basically the day-to-day kind of markets. But overall, in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to look back and of course not pay any attention to any of these things, or don't even remember basically what was happening at this point. Now, the other things that's happening around the world is, of course, the European basically stocks basically went down because now, and it was his name, Macron, actually came out and said, okay, we're going to do snap elections. You know, Rishi Sunak has done the same thing in the last few weeks. So it's interesting times when it comes to a lot of these countries that are doing their elections and so on. And of course, the US will be at the end of this year. So there are so many uncertainties, and markets do not like uncertainties, but that gives us an opportunity. So I'm just going to sit back and watch what's happening overall markets and so on. But as always, that's not going to stop me buying high quality businesses. I'm going to keep looking at it, and I'm going to keep sharing that with you guys in the coming weeks, inshallah, if you like. Now, I was reading this article about basically the UK elections, and it was really interesting to kind of see their take on this. Basically kind of not accusing the government, basically it's what's happened really, is the fact that the UK government, like there's election happening, but the general public that have absolutely no idea of basically what's happening. They're gonna be brainwashed again as usual and being told everything is amazing, and who's gonna suffer in the long run is just the general public. And it's so annoying to basically know, like right now we've got two basically parties that are absolutely useless when you look at it from the bigger picture. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens with the UK, but to be honest with you, it doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, inshallah, we'll see what happens. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about quickly some of the companies that are reporting the earnings, and that is Adobe and Broadcom. So these two companies are reporting at basically this week. So Broadcom reports after close on Wednesday, and Thursday will be Adobe's turn. So it'll be interesting to see what they report, but I'm going to show you exactly what is expected from these two companies. So for Broadcom, for example, so this is Broadcom here. If you go to earnings estimates, and we're looking quarterly now, okay, what you will see they're expecting in terms of revenue in this EPS side of things, they're expecting $10.84. That's about 5% up, a year-over-year growth basically, which is not bad at all. And as you can see here, there's about 30 analysts looking at this. So the low is about 956. So if it goes below that, that's going to be crazy. High, or basically 1181. Now, in terms of revenue side of things, this is where it gets interesting. They're expecting about $12 billion. That's about 37 year-over-year growth, which is absolutely huge. So it'll be interesting to see what they report on Wednesday. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And now, just to quickly show you the ratings for this company. It is a buy, but as you can see, we have 23 strong buys. We got 9 buys, 6 holds, and so on. And then it's basically the price right now they're expecting to be about 1,536, and that's about 6% upside from where we are right now. So that looks okay so far to me. So next one is Adobe. Again, similar thing. Okay, we're looking at Adobe here quarterly, and as you can see here, they're expecting about 12% when it comes to growth in terms of EPS. So it'll be interesting to see what they report, and if they miss this again, probably the stock is going to tank again. So it'll be interesting to see what they say. And then finally, what we're looking is the revenue side of things, and as you can see here, they're expecting about 10%, modest 10% growth year over year in terms of revenue side of it. So I'm expecting, you know, good things from these two companies. We'll see what they report, inshallah. We'll keep an eye on them. And finally, the company that I want to talk about today that reported basically a couple of weeks, I think about a week ago, is this company, CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is one of the companies. I wish I was still holding on to this, because I was buying this stock when it was about $100, less than $100 per share. But I did actually make some good money based on over the years, so basically buying and selling it. And as you can see, a year to date is actually up almost to 50%, which is absolutely amazing to see. Now, it is actually strong buy. It's got 36 analysts that saying strong buy, and 13 saying buy and 4 holds. If you okay, right now it's almost flat, so 5% upside from where we are now. And as you can see here, Adobe is actually down 23% since the beginning of the year. So again, I'm just going to keep basically watching this stock and see basically where it goes. But as you can see here, when it comes to analysts, there's 20 strong buys, 8 buys, 7 holds, and 2 sells, and 1 strong sell. And as you can see, this is about 23% upside from where we are currently. So it's really, both of them are very interesting companies. We'll see what they report this week. And if Adobe reports and it's absolutely horrible, then I'm gonna have a maybe look at it again, inshallah, and let you guys know what I'm doing with it. If you are on basically if you are with me on the Patreon account on the Discord, you know exactly basically what I've done recently. So you basically so if you want to know exactly what I did with the stock recently, go on basically join us there. Now, just to kind of give you a quick overview of the entire portfolio, as you can see here, we're kind of going up slightly. I think we're down for the day. I think at some point today was over 105,000, over basically that little bit, but it doesn't matter. The most important thing for me is this trajectory. That's the entire portfolio is going up year after year, month after month, and inshallah I'm gonna keep holding on to it and see what happens, inshallah. And again, the reds, I just want to focus on some of the reds today. So as you can see, Hershey is actually down a little bit. J&J, I will be buying more of J&J inshallah in the next couple of weeks. Again, I'm dollar cost averaging every single week. For those who are new, I add about £250 every single week, and basically £1,000 every month, and sometimes I do add more, especially the months where we have a lot of companies that are down. So I like J&J, I like MasterCard, so I'm going to potentially add to these two companies, as well as MSCI. Those are the 3 companies I'm targeting. Most likely, if this one bounces back in the next couple of weeks, I will definitely be selling it. And at the same time, I'm trying to get to at least 100 shares of basic recommendations. And right now, as you can see, I've got about 80, let's call it about 88 shares. And I'm going to continue doing that, inshallah, but until I get to the 100 shares, then I'm going to leave it alone, see what happens. As you can see, Salesforce is up about 11.5% since I actually added to the portfolio, and again, is really still undervalued in my opinion. So I'm going to continue holding on to this stock. Now, when it comes to, and now I'm jumped back to Adobe, but I wanted to kind of finish off with CrowdStrike here. One of the things I really like about CrowdStrike, okay, is this basically growth side of things. Okay, I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to go back to Morningstar. Now, in terms of earnings expectations moving forward when it comes to this company, can you see the growth expectations? This is absolutely madness. So remember, we're looking at annualized. So 2025, they're expecting almost a 30%. When it comes to 2026, there's almost 23%, 30%, 37%, and so on. And when it comes to revenue side of it, right, Look at it, from $4 billion to $10 billion in this space of 5 years, which is absolutely huge growth. So 30% almost every single year. Really great company. Is one of the companies, like I said at the beginning, that I used to hold in my portfolio for quite some time, and I sold it, but I took some profit, of course, here and there, and at the end I've managed to basically to sell it. And as you can see here, this is the bit that surprised me. Now, according to Morningstar, it's actually fairly valued. It's about, I don't know, $50 above their fair value price, which is quite interesting. So yeah, that is the company that I also wanted to share with you guys. Again, I don't own it right now as we speak. I'm currently looking at it. I don't know if I would actually be brave enough to buy it, but if it comes back down again, if we see a correction in the market and this company comes down 20-30%, if not more, and is a very volatile stock, don't forget that it can easily happen, I will potentially add to it. Sorry about the jumping, because I wanted to finish off with what I said about Adobe before I move on. Anyway, I hope you like this type of videos. I'm got a few more videos planned for us this week, InshaAllah. And final thing I want to say to keep an eye on is today, basically what Apple calls the WWDC, which is basically where they hopefully will announce some sort of AI thing, whatever, the new iPhone software and more, basically expected more from the company. So it will be interesting to see. And apparently the OpenAI dude was also there with them today, so we'll see if they announce some sort of a partnership with them. So it'll be interesting to see, because Apple is one of the laggers when it comes to the overall market. So the last 6 months, where all the other companies have gone up 100-something%, they are completely flat. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, inshallah, as well. I don't own Apple at the moment, so again, that's something that I just want to share with you guys. Anyway, have a wonderful day. Assalamu Alaikum.